Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. Before we get started, something I like to do, which if you've been following along, then this is something that I like doing, to say a fun fact about myself and a fun fact about the world, I guess. So, my first fun fact is that did you know that without the saliva in your mouth, you wouldn't be able to taste food? We got some game changers in the chat. What's up? But yeah, without saliva, you wouldn't be able to taste your food. And that's a fun fact. Now, a fun fact about me is I come from a big family. There's our picture in the back. So I have 4 siblings. I'm the youngest girl, and everyone in my immediate family, except for one person's name, starts with an R. So my mom, it goes Ron, Roxanne, Deja, Ronnie, Ronna, Ronika, Ron Jr., RJ. So that's a fun fact about my family. Okay, but before Maria comes on, I'm just going to recap what's next with Ronika and who we're going to have later after Maria. So what's next with Ronika, if you guys are just tuning in and don't know what it is an IG Live series. Obviously, that's where you guys are, where I get to go on live with former student athletes and talk about their transition from being a student athlete into the professional world, and all of my guests are from the world of sports and entertainment, so that's kind of the field that I want to go into, and being a part of the Game Changers and the Winning Edge, they've really given me this opportunity to talk and learn and figure out what career path is right for me, and honing my skills because I want to be able to host a show one day. So how many times did your mom call you the wrong name with all those R names? Every day she calls us something else. We have a dog named Zipper, and sometimes she'll call one of us Zipper. So we also all have the same. Oh, another fun fact about our names. We also all have the same middle name. So we're the same person. We're just a bunch of Rons. Pretty much. My dad's name is Ron, and then we're all little Rons. She thought she was being creative. I don't know. She's on here right now, so shout out to Mom. Love my name. No one else has it, so thank you so much. But yeah, we're going to go on with Maria in a little bit. For those that don't know, which I hope you know because you're all on this, she's the co-founder of The Winning Edge. So, and now ESPN does everything for ESPN almost. I feel like every time I turn on the TV, she's on there. And then next we're going to have Tiki Barber. And Tiki is a family friend who played with my dad on the Giants. I saw him this past year in New York when we went to play, but other than that, I hadn't seen him since I was shorter than him. And now I'm taller than him, so I might want to mention that. What did you like about going to games and watching your dad with your family? So I was pretty young when my dad was playing. He retired when I was in 2nd grade. But the only, one of the memories I do have of him, which is kind of sad, is when he got hurt. And he was coming off of the field, limping off. And my siblings were like, "Who is that?" And my mom's like, "That's your father." We're like, "Oh no." But being able to, my dad said we spent a lot of the time in the daycare center because we wanted to play. Going back, I wish I could say I want to change that and wanted to watch every single game my dad played in, but I was 5, so I think I think playing in the daycare center was in my best intentions at the time. When I have another family in here, Ronnie, so you guys can all see the stones slowly slide in. How was my internship going? Great question, Kareen. Also, she makes the whole of the co-founder. We were trying to figure out if that's even a verb and how to phrase it. But I'm enjoying the internship. I'm getting to talk to so many incredible people and learning their experiences. And they're not saying the cliches. It's not something that they just want me to hear. It's what they've gone through and from their personal experience that I could learn from. So Maria's in here. We're going to go live with her right now and ask questions. I don't know, in the question box for her. And then at the end, we will get to it. Pin comment. So I'm going to get her in. Wait one sec. There. And now we wait because it says, all right. So for those that don't know, Maria was a great volleyball player at Georgia. She also played basketball, but at Georgia, she was a 4-year starter. When you were a senior, you led your team in kills, points, and attempts. So, I mean, as an outside, you're getting all those anyways, but you were a 3-time All-SC, and by the end of your career, you were top 5 in points and kills. So there's no doubt that you could have gone pro. Like, there's no question you could have gone pro, but you had a conversation with Robin Roberts that ultimately changed and led you to stay. What was it about that conversation that changed your mindset?
Well, it really started with my basketball coach at Georgia, and I was offered a job at the University of Georgia upon my graduation if I was interested in it. And I was kind of juggling between, do I go overseas, do I go play in Puerto Rico, or do I stay at home and start this job, this career, which is something that, you could be going and dealing with now as a senior. And I knew that I wanted to play volleyball. Like, I didn't feel like I was done with my career, but I also knew that my end game was to be working in broadcasting. And I remember Coach Landers telling me, girl, you need to just go ahead. Like, you could go and play overseas and be in Sweden for 3 years or whatever and come.
Yeah.
And do you want to be a coach? Do you want to play forever? Like, you need to make that decision now. And it kind of just made me think about, okay, short-term gain versus long-term success. What's most important to me? And I also ultimately chose broadcasting. And again, I had a job here, so it made a lot of sense. But it was a hard decision to make, because you want to stay in your career as long as possible. We have so much fun playing games that we play. Like, there's a reason why we do it. So it was fun to start my career, but it was difficult to give up something that defined you your whole entire life.
Yeah, especially because, I mean, you'd make a lot more money playing volleyball overseas than you do just starting out.
Yes.
In the journalism.
There's no money in broadcasting until
like your mom said.
And honestly, you'd have more fun. So I was giving up going overseas to Puerto Rico and hanging out with my homegirls or whatever, my teammates.
That's so much fun.
Staying in Athens and just still being in college, but not being in college, but covering all the girls that I just played with. So.
But now, the Maria Taylor that everyone knows now, I feel like every time I turn on ESPN, you're on it. Whether you're on College GameDay or you're doing NBA Countdown or some random event, I just feel like you're always behind the mic. But before that, being a student but not being a student time, the not so glamorous parts of your career, what was it that the skills that you learned you didn't expect that you would have to do coming into journalism?
In the very beginning, we were doing everything. So you had to edit your own videos. You had to carry the tripod. You had to bring the camera with you, so you on one shoulder, here's a tripod, on the other shoulder, you're holding the mic, you kind of everything. So I definitely learned how to edit. I learned how to tell stories. I was editing my own features together, how to line up your own interviews. So if I want to do a story on a player, then I had to get in touch with mom and have a conversation with mom and say what time she's going to show up, and then, get sister and brother to come along too, which has helped me a lot in my career because, working for college football, that's all I do is I'm talking to parents and families and trying to tell stories. So I had a ground zero approach to it when you have to set it all up yourself.
Yeah.
Even just learning every single sport. We were at equestrian, we were at the tennis national championships because Georgia hosts. So I was prepared for working at the SEC network and doing every single sport. You know what I mean? Not knowing the sport, but finding a way to talk about it or at least seem halfway knowledgeable about it.
Yeah.
Which is a process all its own. So, yeah.
And I found an article that was 2007, Getting to Know Maria Taylor, and in it, for your dream job, you put ESPN reporter, and obviously you did that and then some.
You got to send me that link. I keep telling people I think I said that, but I have no clue where that is.
No, you did. It was your favorite moment in volleyball was stuffing someone. I'm just gonna stutter your stats. Your rituals you pray during the national anthem.
Still do that. I do that as a reporter still.
Oh, cool. But what would you attribute your success to?
Ooh, that's a great question.
Or who?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, like I have a ridiculous support system. So like I got to give it up to my parents, like my mom who was driving me to games in the beginning, you know, the people that you call when you're like, I'm not good enough and I'm not going to make it. And they're like,
Yeah.
girl, you know, they snap you out of it. Like you got to have
Mhm.
someone like that in your corner that builds confidence. If you hear a drill, it's because my house is actually under construction.
You're fine. I'm like, oh, I'm really nervous for when my dog's about to run by
Yeah.
and bark. So.
But so they get a big part of it. I mean, I would say my faith, like there's a lot of times when you might be losing your way or just not sure which way to go, and then like reminding myself that I'm not really in control of everything. Like the doors that I need to open will open or close if they need to close, and moving forward in that way, like that is a constant reminder. And then I have so many advocates and friends, like people who have gone back for me and said I should be on this show or that show, or said, can we add Maria to the draft or whatever. Like without those people in my corner, I'm not doing half the things I'm doing because I'm not in the room when all these conversations are happening. You have to have advocates and people who want to see you be great. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I have had a tremendous support system this entire time.
And on top of that, you not only had all those amazing opportunities, but you decided to found, I don't know the verb for it, but the winning edge with Kareem. Yeah, whatever the word is. Why was that so important to you?
I think for me, it was trying to figure out, I feel like I've been blessed with so much. And so what do I need to do with this platform, or what are some issues or inconsistencies in the industry that I feel like I could have effect on? And for me, it was diversity and trying to find ways to make sure that the rooms that I was in or the broadcast that I worked on looked differently, that we had women involved, that we had minorities involved. And that's definitely not always the case now. So then it was like, okay, well, let's start training the next crop of them. Let's figure out what we could do. Is it like resume building? Is it mentoring? It's all of these things. But it certainly is something, it gives you something else to focus on. Like you could be drawn into selfish ambition, or you could be drawn into so many other things. But for me, I feel like I do know it's a burden and a blessing to be one of the onlys, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And you have kind of like, what are you going to do with that? So that's why.
And I love to be able to text you and call you whenever, and you answer. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm always surprised every time. I'm like, hey. But you're a mentor to so many student athletes, and in the world of journalism, it's a hard place to get into. It's like a dog-eat-dog world out there, but still you're willing to help,
Right.
and help the next generation, the next people coming up. But with it, just like you're one of the few, why not want to stay that way?
Well, I think that there's just room for all of us. Like, I think everyone has a lane. So my lane involves, these three things, and my personality is this, and I'm like, no one else can be me. You know what I mean? So, but there's room for Ronika, because you bring something else to the table, and you're going to look at things differently, and you're going to have a different impact, and your lane might veer to the left a little bit, and you might be covering X, Y, Z. So it's not a matter of like, well, if you have so many people there, then you're going to lose your job or you're going to be pushed out. It's just like, no, we are all going to be able to thrive on the same highway. Like, we're going the same direction. We're in different lanes. And I just don't see the point in a crabs in the barrel mentality. And like, if that's draining and that's exhausting and a terrible way to look at life. So here to everyone, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But with everything that you've done and everything that you've accomplished, what do you think you have to do to feel like, I've made it? Like, you could sit down and be like, I've done it. I've done everything that I want.
I think it's like, I always say I want to be there when a season ends. So like, I haven't covered an NBA finals. I haven't like the Super Bowl, or I haven't done that. You know what I mean? There's still a bunch of events that I just want to be at and cover and say that I was there. Like, oh yeah, I remember when. I sit around a lot of times with people that are older than me, and they have these great stories. And I'm like, I can't wait till I have stories like that. So I was like, well, I have a list of stories that I can tell, like piece by piece, where I was and what was happening. And it's also like just a news story in general. You got to be in this industry for like 40 years before you make it, apparently. So,
sheesh. And you've been in it for a while.
Well, really good point. Yeah.
Shoot, 40 years. That's crazy.
You're right. Maybe 30 years.
Who do you think has made it?
Robin Roberts.
Oh, that's
yeah. Okay, so like watching The Last Dance, I'm like, how long has Mark Jones been doing it? You know what I mean? When you see these videos, like, oh, you don't, like I work with these people and they've been doing it forever and they like know everything and they were there and they were like Andrea Kramer shows up and like all these different people and I'm just like, God, I want to be that person. I'm like, I'm wondering what documentary I would be sitting down for. Like what's
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So everyone who's talking about Michael Jordan in The Last Dance has made it.
True.
Yeah.
That's yeah. When you're involved with the goat, or
Right.
one of the goats, I can't claim he's not my generation. So right now I'm looking at Kobe and LeBron. I don't know him, but what would be? You mentioned Robin Roberts. What was the best advice that she has ever given you?
Definitely that. I mean, you made it like things are gonna happen to you that would be, say, upsetting or confusing, or there's a job that you want and you don't get it. You have to show up to work every single day as if there's no place in the world you'd rather be.
Mm-hmm.
And I really take that to heart because our industry is so small that if you show up and have one bad day at work, or you're mad at the guy who's rolling the cable, or get mad at the cameraman, like that one story or that one time that you were off or had a bad day could haunt you for the rest of your career.
Mm-hmm.
They could remember that forever, And so I take it to heart that everyone should feel like a little bit better after they've talked to you or after they've left you.
Mm-hmm.
And wherever I am, whatever position I hold, like I'm going to be the best version of me in that role. I'm going to show up and be happy every single day, even if I go home and I'm not, but you would never know it. You know what I mean? Pure joy when you see me. And I think that that's important. Like that's the perception that we should all want to have and maintain about who we are.
And what was the big, I guess, starting out in your career? I think it's easy to do it now when you've been in the game for as long as you have, but in the beginning stages, like fresh out of college, what was the most difficult part of having that mentality?
I think in the beginning, it was just like, I still wanted to be playing volleyball. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't figure out, it's hard to be happy about everything when you don't know who you are. And I think in the beginning I didn't. So I was like, if I'm not Maria Taylor, the volleyball player or the athlete, then who am I? And when you're starting out in broadcast, I mean, I was nothing. I was making little to no money. I was living in my college town and covering my former team that I was just the captain of. Like I'm having to ask them for interviews. You know what I mean? Like it's a humbling experience. But also I think it's what I needed. Like it's a reminder that it's not even about you anymore. It's about the people that you cover, the sport that you cover. Like here's what matters. Here's what's important. If you want to be great at this, then you better get used to it, type of thing. So that was, I don't know how I pushed through that, but those are some rough days. I would literally just go sit in the car and like cry, like just have a feel sorry for yourself moment. And then you just get out and like, well, if I want to get this little bitty check, let me go on back to, you know what I mean? I chose this. Let me go ahead back out here.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's like no going back now.
Nope. So I can cry, but I got to go to the match.
Pretty much. But I guess, what is something from your experience coming up that, like top 3 takeaways that student athletes that want to become, there will never be another Maria Taylor. So I always hate when people are like, the next Maria Taylor. I'm like, no, I'm not going to be the next Maria Taylor. But like, what are 3 takeaways from your experience that people can benefit from?
So as a former student athlete, there's a lot of things that I learned, but one is that I always wish that I could go back to and just practice. Like I would practice so hard and I don't think I would complain about some of the small things that I did before. And so I feel like I tried to do that early on in my career. Like don't sweat the small stuff. You're going to make mistakes. So you got to learn how to fail fast. And we know how to do that in volleyball. You miss a point. It's just like, come on, girl, high five, next.
Yeah.
And you got to be the same way in your career. You got to be willing to like get in there, do that dirty work, because without that practice, without the grind on the ground floor, then you're never going to make it to, the championship match or, wherever you see yourself being as an athlete. And then just like, you work a lot. You don't have weekends. You're going to spend time away from your family. Like, what it's like to be dedicated to a sport where if you're playing AAU basketball, you're playing club volleyball. You train, you get to college, and you don't get to be like a regular student. You have to have practices, you have to do this, you have to do that. And so you're so used to requiring more of yourself that I require more of myself as a broadcaster too. And so that's like a lot of the things that you can take from being a student athlete. You know how to work and you know what it looks like to be successful. And you also know what it looks like to fail and know it's your fault. So you know what you can control and you control those things.
I always told my team was like, flush it. Like, it's always going to be flush it because, like, if I'm going to say poop, not the word I usually use. Like, you don't want it to sit in the toilet forever. Like, flush
Yep.
it down and let it go. And
Mm-hmm.
then I think that was our motto this year. It didn't work as well as I wanted to, but it's
That's all
fine.
right. Great matches, you know, you had a great career.
Thanks.
But you
But,
hanging behind you.
huh? Yeah, I had to flex, make my glory days.
Let them
Hopefully
know.
there's more to come. But we're going to open it up for questions. No, already what? There's, okay. Done. What is the best part about working at ESPN?
Ooh, the best part. There's so many great things, but I think the relationships that I get to build with, like, I travel around and I talk to players and coaches, and like I get to become their friends. You know what I mean? Like, that's my
Yeah.
job. So I love people. I get energy from being around people. I love telling stories, and I get to do all of those things. And in a lot of ways, like, I think it's important for me to be on the sidelines. Like, I think when the players see me, it's like an auntie or a cousin or a sister. And so
Yeah.
there's a different conversation I can have with them than maybe some of my peers can, and I take that to heart. So, but I really enjoy those moments.
There's a question from editor-in-chief of Go Ducks. I see him. It says, what barriers to success exist for the next generation, and what are the best practices for breaking through them? It's a great question, Rob.
The next generation, I think we keep talking about this new normal and what it looks like. So it's like figuring out how to differentiate yourself when there's so much noise. Like, when I was coming out, the way that you watch sports was we didn't even have the SEC network. You know what I mean? Like, watched ESPN, and you had a regional network, probably a Fox network, and we had CSS in Atlanta, but that was about it. And now you can blog, you can have IG lives like this and have conversations. Like, now figuring out what your multimedia lane is going to be very important for you guys, you know, to figure out whatever your strength is. And it might be writing, it might be interviewing, it might be the relationships that you build and being in contact with people and getting scoops and stuff like that. But figuring out just how to differentiate yourself amongst all of that noise that we're going to constantly hear, because this is, the internet's not going anywhere.
Yeah. Let's see. There's so many like random questions. So can you please tell Maria to DM me? Like, no, she can't. Okay. Okay, this one's kind of long. Was there ever a time where you thought you didn't get a position because of your skin color or your gender, and how do you? Well,
Let's see.
Can't read the end.
How do you maybe deal with that? So I don't think that's true. I do think there's been times when I've gotten a role, but then there's been questions about whether or not I could do it, because I've had someone tell me that before. It's like, well, we have to see if you could do it first. And I'm like, would you think that if I look different, or would you really think that out loud? You know what I mean? To me. But I do think that in a lot of ways, being a Black female, there have been some pluses for me. And so one of those things is being the only one that works in college football. Like, there are times when I'm like, oh, absolutely, I'm needed here. Like, you couldn't that I'm not needed here. Like, it is a requirement that I am on these. And I always try to think of it like that, even though it isn't always. Like, I mean, I can tell you, I feel like an outsider a lot. There's times when I feel ostracized, but at the same time, I look at my skin color as my superhero power. And I think you can look at it as that, or like your kryptonite, like it's going to be the thing that hurts you. And I choose to believe it's going to be the thing that helps me and makes me special, because it's made me stronger my entire life. Like, the things my ancestors have overcome, like my grandma couldn't go to the University of Georgia, and then her granddaughter graduated from the University of Georgia, is going to be the commencement speaker. Like, these are the things that
That's crazy.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not, it will never bother me. Like, you can't bother me with that mess. That's how I feel.
That's powerful. Yes. Like, you physically cannot have me. You need me.
Yeah. I don't care what you're about to say right now. Like, you can't.
But while we finish up, what is something, leaving here, you want all student athletes to know, like, one takeaway, the most important thing from your experience, and that you know now you didn't know before, that you could tell them?
I would just say, like, really, people say it all the time, but enjoy the journey. Like, enjoy waking up and going to study hall. Enjoy waking up and going to eat with your team at training table. Enjoy the road trip where you had to take the bus and you couldn't fly for some reason or another. Like, you never get them again. And, you know, I get to travel around the world and cover some amazing things, but in a heartbeat, I would go back, be in Athens, be at my team. I literally am about to put this picture up now that we bring it up. I found it like in my old stuff at home, and this is like my freshman year when we all got to run the flags out at Georgia, and I like look back.
That's amazing.
Best time, like
Yeah.
this is the best time, and so just don't let that fly by, feeling like I don't know you're yearning for something else, or you're waiting for the next phase of your life. It's like live in the now, enjoy that, learn what you can. Those people that are around you, same for you, Ronika. Like everyone at Oregon wants to help you. They want to make you better because it looks good for them. Just that. You know what I mean? You roll whatever role you have now. These are going to be your best friends for life. So just enjoy that journey and use every single bit of being a student athlete.
Yeah. I think that's especially like hits home for me right now in a time where, you know, my student athlete experience got cut short.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you don't want to leave wishing like I would have done more, or I could have spent my time doing something else, because, you know, you never know when it's going to end. And, you know, sadly mine ended before I knew it. And, like I had a group chat, like, guys, we really went out for the last time, and we didn't know that was us going out for the last time. I would kill to walk to class right now. Like,
right? See? It's a real thing.
I would never know that.
I'm going to be in a different mind frame. Like, I enjoy everything. I enjoy going outside. You know what I mean? Like going to class, being around people.
No, I'm watching TV, and like people are walking around because it's obviously TV. I'm like, they don't have a mask on. Hey, what is this world that we're living in? It's so weird. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate everything you do. If you guys don't know, I met Maria. It feels like forever ago, honestly, but 2 years ago.
That's a long time.
It's like when I was just going into my junior year. So, and she's always been there for me ever since, and I really appreciate everything that you do and who you are. So thank you for coming on and being on What's Next.
Oh, thanks, Ronika. Love you. You're looking
Love you.
And you did a little research. Send me my own link. Thank you.
I got you.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for jumping on.
Okay, I love her. You guys have so many questions for her. She'll check her DM. We'll try to see all the relevant ones and see if she can answer them for you. But next, we're going to have Tiki Barber. He comes on at 6:30 Eastern Time, 3:30 Pacific Time. And so make sure that you tune in for that one, because it's going to be another great conversation. And we want to thank our partners with Mobot. I always have it like right next to me. The first foam or water bottle, which is ridiculously crazy. Like making a foam or water bottle, like they're geniuses for doing that. So you guys can go and get your own. I have the gray size. There's a bigger one. There's a smaller one if you don't want the in-betweener. And use promo code What's Next and get 25% off. And also, if you're really big on Amazon, which I know a lot of you are, because there's nothing else to do, so I'm sure everyone's just shopping on Amazon, go to smile.amazon.com and select the We Leadership, or the Winning Edge, as your charity. None of the donations, none of your payment goes to them. It's straight from Amazon, so you don't even have to worry about it. So thank you so much for joining in, and I'll see you in like a couple hours.